Hi guys, I'm Heather of heatherlavonjensen.com, and today I'm reading When I Grow Up, I'm going to Have So Much Amnesia. Chapter 1, If Life is a Gift, It's a Fruitcake. Powerful gusts of wind buffeted our single-wide trailer. Sheets of rain assaulted the windows with a sound like distant machine gun fire. Thunder in hot pursuit of the lightning that careened across the sky rumbled defiance. Yet fierce as it was, the fury of the storm without was as nothing compared with the battle within. My son Jack bawled like a newly branded calf and thrashed back and forth, struggling to yank feet from leggings and arms from sleeves before I could pull up the zipper on his snowsuit. He braced his heels against the matted brown carpet and flung himself backwards, with utter disregard for the concussion he'd give himself if I let go. There must be easier jobs than mine, I told my squalling toddler as I pushed his legs back in his suit. Deep sea fishing, smoke jumping, crocodile hunting. At last, the zipper slid to his chin. As if the zipper were a toggle switch, his howl stopped and he went boneless in my arms. His glare was eloquent. I could force him to wear the hated suit, but I could never imprison his spirit. I tucked my hair in the hood of my jacket with one hand and scooped up my limp son with the other. We have to get moving, bud. We are so late. A blast of wind yanked the screen door out of my hands and slammed it into the deck railing like a bratty big brother. Typical Tuesday in Wyoming. You're going to be thankful for that coat in a minute, Jack, I said, and hustled down the creaky wooden steps toward our old Dodge Caravan, ducking my head against the rain sleeting sideways into my eyes. The snowsuit was too puffy to fit in the car seat. The straps snagged and my fingers fumbled. This is taking forever, I muttered. It must be noon by now. Trapped up in trust, Jack started fussing. Don't worry, baby. You're safe and warm, I told him. The windshield wipers thumped a rhythmic beat. The windshield wipers thumped a rhythmic beat as the van pulled out of the driveway, and I recited a poem in time to the wipers' percussion as I drove. The splendor falls on castle walls and snowy summits, old and story. In next to no time, we pulled into a parking space. I turned off the van, reached for my purse, and then stopped, confused. Instead of the Meals on Wheels parking lot, we were parked in front of the Albertsons grocery store. How did we get here? Bewildered, I started up the engine again and looked at my watch. My little detour cost 15 minutes. Odd, I would have sworn we'd just left, but whatever. To stay grounded and prevent my brain from switching to autopilot again, I threaded my fingers into the leather laces that wrapped the steering wheel. We will not be fooled again, whispered an inner voice, and I chuckled. The aroma of tuna casserole greeted us as we barged into the Meals on Wheels kitchen. The digital clock on the wall showed less than an hour of delivery time left. I'd almost given up on you, the volunteer coordinator said as she handed me a stack of strapped-together trays and a bag of milk cartons. Would you like me to help you carry this out to your car? No, I've got it. My armload shifted and I bounced my son higher on my hip. His hood fell back to reveal brown curls drenched with sweat. Hay looks hot, the coordinator said. You could probably take that off him in the car. Yeah, good idea. In a pig's eye, I could. He's all sweaty. He could get a chill. At each stop on my route, I followed the ritual. Go to the side of the van, unbuckle the baby and pick him up, loop the milk bag over my arms, carry the tray by the strap to the front door, knock on the door, bring in the food, grab the old trays, balance them in the baby, reload son and trays in the van. Each stop we got wetter, and Jack got louder. A silver-haired lady remarked over the sound of my son's angry squawks, maybe it would be easier for him if he stayed in the car while you did the deliveries. Oh, good idea, thanks. Leave my baby alone in the car, unprotected? Not in this lifetime. At last we reached the final stop, a dilapidated old house trailer. Pink insulation oozed from the gaps in the peeling siding and made the place look like a mortally wounded animal. The instructions on the client printout said, knock, walk in, put the food in the refrigerator. Few things feel more awkward than entering a stranger's home uninvited. I masked my apprehension with a cheery shout. Hello, Meals on Wheels! No one answered, so I knocked and crept inside. Stacks of newspapers, boxes of junk, and old magazines framed a single corridor from the front door to the refrigerator. The place stank of fossilized spaghetti. As I cringed my way along, angling my body away from the mess to keep my son's eager hands from grabbing something disgusting, I mentally cataloged items I could use as weapons if we were threatened in there. An old wrench, a screwdriver, a thick glass bottle. The fridge was stuffed with the remains of former meals. I had to turn the tray sideways and shove to make it fit. But where was the old tray? I scanned the room again. At last I spotted the corner, peeping out behind a hill of old TV guides. I leaned over to grab it, balanced the baby on the opposite hip, and then behind me the door slammed shut. Bang! I shrieked, leaped backwards, and brandished that tray in front of me like the deadly weapon it wasn't. Sorry, didn't mean to startle you, said a wizened, smiling little man. My voice unsteady, I said, It's okay, you must be Mr. Lewis. Must I? He said, and his eyes twinkled. Thanks for bringing my lunch. What's for dessert today? I think it's Jell-O, the green stuff. He sighed. Since my heart surgery, eating's no fun. My doctor, he says to me, you're on the tasting diet, Bob. If it tastes good, you spit it right back out. I chuckled dutifully. Sorry you had to have surgery. That bypass is the best thing ever happened to me. His faded denim eyes locked on mine, and after the manner of the older and wiser, who know from a lifetime of experience long speeches are forgotten, but sound bites may have a chance to stick, he said with a beatific smile, It taught me that every day of life is a gift. His words hit me like a punch to the throat, and I nearly choked on a sudden upwelling of despair. That's great. Seriously, so inspiring. I forced a smile. Wave bye-bye to Mr. Lewis, I urged Jack, and made a totally not mad dash out the door. Jack just scowled and hung limp like an angry sack of potatoes. I splashed through the mud puddles to the van, the loose tray slapping against my leg, before the caustic words in my heart could spill out and burn the innocent Mr. Lewis. Life? A gift? Not even close. Life is stress and pain and anxiety, with little bits of joy and happiness sprinkled over the top for variety. Life is misery and struggle, and what makes life bearable is the hope of heaven and peace in the next life. If life is a gift, it's a fruitcake. The rain dwindled to a trickle, and I buckled Jack back in his car seat. His face pink from the heat, sweat rolling down his temples, Jack hollered for freedom and thrashed his little arms. It's okay, baby, I said shakily and patted the leg of his soggy suit. You're safe and warm. We pulled out of the trailer park and turned onto the highway. Not wanting to revisit Albertsons, I focused hard on my driving, and the world narrowed to a tunnel. The rough asphalt filled my field of vision. And then I felt a mental nudge, and an inner voice said, Did you see that? Over there? Beside the road? I looked in my rearview mirror, puzzled. The writhing figure hanging off the side of a white Ford 350 pickup didn't register at first. I couldn't process what I was looking at. Was that a dog hanging from the side of the truck? I cranked the steering wheel around and headed back. The Ford was pulled over on the side of the road, and on the left side, facing a drainage ditch, a German shepherd hung by his collar, scrabbling for a foothold that wasn't there. For once, I didn't hesitate to leave Jack alone in the van. I didn't even shut the door. No one else was in sight. I shouted for help as I ran toward the dog, but no one came running. A second dog, a blue heeler, stood in the back of the truck whining, his own tie rope so short he couldn't look over the side. The shepherd's desperate brown eyes locked on mine. Bracing myself against the bedside, I grabbed 2 armfuls of wet dog and heaved. The dog gulped air, and I realized his tie rope was fastened to the toolbox in the truck bed. The rope was so short, the owner must have been sure he couldn't get out of the truck, but the owner's strategy had backfired. Not only had he gotten out, the tie rope had slid between the cab and the bedside and pulled his collar in the gap. His legs couldn't reach the ground, so he couldn't brace himself and take off the pressure. He must have been so scared. In the circumstances, I wouldn't have blamed him if he snapped at me, but he didn't. It's okay now, boy, I said. I tried to untie the rope on his collar, but his struggles had pulled the waterlogged knot tight, and it wouldn't come loose. I couldn't undo the strap with one hand. He was a big dog. My feet kept slipping out from under me thanks to the muddy slope, and panic started to set in. I didn't know how to get him into the truck and save him. I was his only hope. Please, Heavenly Father, I begged, please help me save this dog. In my mind's eye, I suddenly envisioned my strength training teacher as she demonstrated the proper way to perform back squats to my class. That would work. Like most good ideas, it was obvious once the spirit pointed it out. I faced away from the truck, crouched down, balanced the shepherd on my shoulders, and drove upward through my heels with all my strength. My heels dug into the slope, the dog slid over the bed rim, and he landed inside, where he scrambled to his feet and stood with lowered head. His blue heeler buddy, whining, shoved at him with its nose. I couldn't tell if the dog had damaged his throat or not. I worried about his windpipe. His owner needed to know he needed a vet to check him out, and also how dangerous short tie ropes had turned out to be. Back to the van for pencil and paper. Jack was fast asleep. How long had it taken me to help that dog, I wondered. I penciled a quick note on the back of a McDonald's bag and stuck it into the truck's wiper blade, hoping the rain wouldn't wipe away the message. The shepherd was still focused on his breathing, but the healer seemed to grin at me, his tail whipping back and forth. Did the dog understand what happened? Now that I had a moment to look them over, their thick coats and excellent physical condition were evidence that their owner took such good care of these dogs. Someone loved them. I was thankful for the nudge that prompted me to pull over, so I whispered a quick prayer of gratitude for a tragedy averted and added a heartfelt plea that the dog would, pretty please, stay put this time. As we pulled back in the highway, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Soaked curls plastered to his forehead, his head tilted to the side, Jack dreamed on. You're safe and warm, baby, I whispered. You're safe and warm. Thanks, everybody. If you'd like to read ahead, there's a link in the description down below and a coupon code for 50% off the ebook. Thanks so much. See you next time.